Hello there, beautiful internet and you amazing creatures of the beyond. Hope you're all doing fantastic. So, today I'm going to talk a bit about Pluto, which is an anime series. It has been developed for about 6 years and it's freaking amazing. Uh, in short, it it includes Astro Boy, if you know the old series, and this is based on the newer manga thing. I'm not into the manga and I'm not into anime in general, but this one was quite unique. It's a serious anime, so it's nothing goofy or something like that. Although it does have its moments, but I believe this is meant to pander more to the old times, to the old style. So it's in contrast, it's about the story of seven of the most powerful war robots, most of which have PTSD, which is an interesting take. So they're the most powerful robots in the world, and they actually want to develop more their empathetic side and try to stop being a weapon used by the humans because they have seen all the horrors that they have created towards their brethren, even though they were from the enemy side, in quotes. And this is put in a very complex world with very intricate elements and plots and subplots. It's a nuance between humans and robots, how they see the world from their various perspectives, and actually how easy it is to lose track who is human and who is a robot at one point. I mean, the appearances just dissolve the differences. Sorry. Um, so, to be honest, the first episode is one of the best that I've seen in my life. In the sense of how it captivated me. It went from just interesting to being freaking wow. It basically started as an international crime investigation, and it ended in a Tchaikovsky masterpiece or Chopin, depending who you like best. I don't know. It was just wow, wow, and a lot of emotions. Just so many things, and not, it's crazy because it does not describe the world from the beginning. You're just being thrown into this immersed world where everything just is. Of course, during the other episodes, you are giving more explanation about how everything came to be, the past, and so on. But everything tangles in such a nice way that it creates a clear and elaborated perspective of everything. So yeah, it has a lot of subplots to go through. Sometimes you can even lose track of them, but give it a bit of patience and everything will make sense. Sometimes even characters pop out of nowhere without any reference to the stories or anything, but they're so well written and so well acted that they just fit into those very important actions that they take part into. I was like, at one point, there was like this robot, bodyguard robot. It was just a generic character out of nowhere, and then he started protecting some kids, and he was helping one of these powerful robots, and they started developing this friendship like instantly without knowing much about one another, and it kind of showed that it's more about, well, I wouldn't say being human because they were definitely uh, different type of robots. The super robot was far superior to him, but this other one had uh, pretty good powers, but to defend against normal threats. but they complement each other in such nice ways. I don't know. It's quite an experience. It's a small plot, a small subplot, sorry, but it's so well delivered and so impactful that you just instantly like the characters and how they all work together. Um, so the title Pluto, which plays a small role in the whole series, but it actually is the glue that binds all the characters together. It's quite well made, in my opinion. It's subtle, powerful, and it has its moments. Yeah, it's quite unique because it kind of interacts with everyone, but in short bursts. So the description of Pluto, how it starts to describe in the series, is basically the mythological god of war from the Romans that shapes into the horror events that end up killing both humans and robots in unexplained events. It's kind of like a meteorological event, like there is like this storm and that swallows up everyone. And then the ones that die are given horns because it symbolizes the god of Pluto. So yeah, quite a unique take on that. But actually, the series is not packed with action fights. In fact, it is a lot of these beautiful stories that explore the psychological points of view of the main protagonists. Um, because the theme of the series is divided between the emotions of hate versus compassion. And mm, there was an interesting scene that actually captivated uh, my full attention. So basically, this series has been developed for 6 years, so it was clearly done before the Gaza war right now. But it describes all the horror that is happening there in so much detail, and it's heartbreaking. But this is quite eye-opening for people who are rooting in general for violence and war, but never think of the aftermath. And it shows all of that, and it's wow. I never thought somebody can captivate that, especially in an anime series. I mean, I've seen like Firefly and other, like Wolf Brigade, for example, also deals with some of these aspects, but not in so much detail, and it's very graphical, very direct. It was wow, really impactful. Um, so back to our world, um, where the characters are living right now. There are laws. Well, they revolve around Asimov's laws, but there are laws that defend AI rights. So, in general, robots have almost equal rights to humans, but they are limited in some ways, in the sense that they are programmed to not harm any human, just disable them. Although there are some situations where they can overcome that, but it's difficult to put in words. You have to watch the whole series of how that develops, because it's a very sophisticated and well crafted subplot. But what was interesting for me was the way humans were reacting towards robots with a lot of respect, and there was no, well, I'm talking like general population. They were treated as pretty much as humans, although there were distinct situations where they had to go through corridors where it was for non-humans, actually robots, and the humans had to go through the other corridors when they were being verified at checkpoints. So there was still clearly a division there. And I believe that these laws that were put in effect slowly over the world, because it wasn't instantly everywhere, uh, they they were for about maybe a decade maximum. So it was quite fresh. People were accommodated to it, but not entirely, because at one point we see some gray areas where um, there are factions, both civilian and political, that still hate robots and want them eradicated. And uh, there are some subplots that deal with that. And ironically, uh, there is a character that really wants to eradicate a specific robot, but he ends up being protected by the robot. It's wow, it's a good plot. It's really fantastic. I love that story. Uh, but each story that we are being unraveled, it has a moral. It has a piece of a puzzle that towards the end it kind of gives us the full message of the series, and it is again nuanced or better fleshed out towards the end, but it is well well placed. It's peppered all around the episodes, so yeah, it's very well preserved and presented. So yeah, the robots are being respected like Japanese style, because yeah, this is a Japanese artist, of course. But the action doesn't actually take part in Japan. Japan is only mentioned in I think one or two scenes where it's about a vacation trip that happens in one episode. But the story happens in over multiple countries in Europe and some in the Middle East, where the war happened in the past, where the robots got the PTSD part, of course. And what's interesting as well, I, you never see hate between robots. There is a lot of compassion. Well, not compassion. I should say they they know that they belong together, and they have to stick together, because any division between them would mean their doom. And it's not elaborated that way, but that's the feeling that you get, that they always stick together, no matter if they're never seen each other in their life, but there is like an instant chemistry between all of them. Um, and they do explore a new set of emotions that they haven't been allowed to explore in the past, and it's new to them. But since they have a lot of limitations, it's a struggle in a way, because they're not allowed to know hate, yet they eventually start to kind of develop it, because the reality is the closest creatures that can teach them about these emotions are humans. Uh, Humans are the parents of the robots, and the robots are the children, because they can only learn from the humans. And there is an interesting argument to be made at one point by one of the scientists that is the father of the AI, the more sophisticated AI, that they shouldn't be made like humans, because inevitably they will become to embrace the human flaws, and they should be left alone to become kind of their own species, because they actually show more compassion than humans when they're left to do that. Even if they understand hate and destruction, they learn much faster than humans, probably mainly because they cannot erase their own memories. Although they could, they kind of don't want to, because not all those memories are necessarily bad. They they are important to them. I don't know. It's quite interesting to see the perspective of a robot in a human world. Um, what else? Yeah, the ending of the series was super epic. You get to see Astro Boy in action fighting the boss, and yeah, there is like a web of how all of these events come together, and there are unseen puppeteers and characters that play in the background. They don't actually have direct action within the current game, but eventually they do make some important decisions that kind of tie the whole plot together. Well, the loose ends, let's call them. So it's well wrapped up. Um, Although I do wish that the last episode wasn't so compact and they would have made an extra episode for it, because there was quite a bit more left there to better nuance. But it describes everything nicely. So the moral of the story at the end is that nothing good ever comes out of hate, and that forgiveness towards others and ourselves can make us better and the world better. So that was a very powerful message that I really enjoyed watching throughout the series. How it developed and how the characters grew by learning this message. So I do highly recommend Pluto. It's definitely an 11 out of 10, and I put it in my favorite sci-fi classics next to like Ghost in the Shell, Akira, Gundam, of course, Wolf Brigade, and there are plenty more out there, but I'm not gonna just put the whole list up. I'm just gonna stop here. But I highly recommend you watch it. It's one of a kind. Okay, guys, stay awesome, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.